Aloha kako. Welcome and good evening. My name is James Eustace, and I'm the president of the Waimea Community Association. Thank you to those joining us online tonight, and welcome back to our virtual candidate forum series. Tonight, we'll be holding a series of interviews, virtual interviews, with the individuals that have filed for the seat of County Council District 1. We are grateful to hear from 6 of the 7 candidates running for Hawaii County Council District 1. I encourage you to follow the Waimea Community Association on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. You may also find relevant information on our website with important resources about the elections and ongoing events at waimeatown.org. We strive to keep our accounts active and up to date. At this point, I would like to welcome and acknowledge the Waimea Community Association board members, our Vice President, Michael Donnelly, our Treasurer, Louis Dubois, our Secretary, Frankie Pang, our Assistant Secretary, Patty Cook, and our directors, Nancy Carr-Smith, Riley Smith, Lonnie Olson-Chong, David Greenwell, and Llewellyn Kumalai. The Waimea Community Association Board is grateful for the support shown by the community to hold virtual town meetings. And earlier this month, we held a virtual forum series with the 15 candidates seeking the office of Hawaii County Mayor. And last night, we also held a virtual forum with the 3 candidates seeking the office of County Council District 9 and the 3 candidates seeking the office of Hawaii County Prosecutor. You are welcome to revisit and rewatch these recorded live streams on the Waimea Community Association Facebook page or up on the WCA YouTube channel. I'm just going to put up a couple slides here for you. As mentioned, tonight we'll be learning from and more about the candidates that are running for Council District 1, County Council District 1. County Council District 1 includes a portion of South Hilo, North Hilo, and Hamakua, and even a portion of Waimea. The area in blue on the map here represents the extent and boundaries of District 1. As described by the Hawaii County Council, the communities that are included in District 1 are Pu'u'eo, Wainaku, Kaiviki, Pauka'a, Papaiko, Onomea, Pepeakeo, Onomu, Wailea, Hakalau, Ninole, Papa'aloa, Laupohohoi, Waipunalei, O'okala, Pauilo, Pa'ahau, Onoka'a, Kukui Haile, Waipio, Ahualoa, portion of Kamuela, Pleasant Acres, Nani Waimea, Kamuela Highlands, Kamuela Lakeland, Kamuela Meadows, and Kamuela Havens. So those are the extent of the communities that are described in the Hawaii County Council to the extent of District 1 here. And these maps here just kind of delineate the boundaries, the approximate boundaries and the defined boundaries between some of the districts here. So last night, we were from the Council District 9, and so this is the boundary in east side of Waimea that represents the distinction between District 1 and District 9. And on the eastern side, at the Hilo boundary, it shows the border of District 1 there along Wailuku River. And these are all the communities that are highlighted in the district of District 1 there. The candidates joining us tonight that are seeking the seat of Council District 1, though they'll be appearing in a different order, in alphabetical order, they are Heather Kimball, Jaerick Medeiros-Garcia, Jaclyn Moore, Bethany Morrison, Monique Perreira, and Dominic Yagong. The candidates will be calling in throughout the evening, joining us to give a 2-minute self-introduction. And after their self-introduction, candidates will then be asked a series of questions over 12 minutes. These questions have been submitted ahead of time by community members. And we do apologize if your specific question was not asked this evening. But we've done our best to capture a wide range of topics. Questions were selected and consolidated based upon the consensus of input we received. We hope the questions asked of the candidates tonight during this forum series better inform your decision during the election process. If you do have a specific inquiry of the candidates and we were unable to get to it this evening, I would encourage you to ask them directly or to their campaigns. Thank you for taking the time to submit questions to the Waimea Community Association and for helping make the Q&A portion community driven. Candidates will be timed and a bell will sound when their time expires. Candidates have been encouraged to keep their answers concise and direct for the benefit of them answering more of the questions that are community generated. All candidates have the opportunity and will have the opportunity to answer the same questions, time permitting, of course. Each candidate will be on the video conferencing call for about 15 minutes, and after which time they will be dismissed. Tonight, I'll be joined by 3 of our Waimea Community Association board members, Nancy Carr-Smith, Louis Dubois, and Michael Donnelly. They will assist in presenting the questions to the candidates. This evening, we're also grateful to have Ms. Pat Nakamoto join us again to provide important information about our upcoming 2020 election. Ms. Nakamoto is the County of Hawaii's Elections Program Administrator. She has worked in the elections office here in the County of Hawaii for 34 years. Ms. Nakamoto will share with us specifics regarding the vote by mail process in 2020, and we'll hear about voter signature cards, primary ballots, voter service centers, and drop boxes. We will also be joined by Mr. Brad Clark, who is a member of the Hawaii County chapter of the League of Women Voters. And Mr. Brad is also the League of Women Voters State of Hawaii Director, one of the directors for the State of Hawaii for League of Women Voters. And Mr. Clark will detail a valuable instrument that can help us all as voters to learn more about the candidates and the particular elected positions that we will see in our forthcoming primary ballot, as well as our general election ballots later this year. The State of Hawaii primary election on Saturday 8th is a critical day in our elections process. Many of the competitive seats will be determined in the primary. If candidates, especially those nonpartisan, receive more than 50% of the tallied votes, they will be elected on August 8th. This has been the reason for groups like the WCA to hold forums during this time of the year, so that our communities, families, friends, and neighbors have an opportunity to learn more about the candidates before the primary election. We invite you to learn more about the candidates running for elected office, and we are excited to hold these forums. At this time, I would like to start off our virtual forum this evening as we hear from the candidates running for Council District 1 by welcoming Ms. Heather Kimball to join the call with us. Welcome, Ms. Kimball. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Hi.
Welcome.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you, James.
So I'm going to give you 2 minutes for your self-introduction, and you may begin when you're ready.
Okay. Thank you, everybody from the Waimea Community Association for taking the time to host this forum for all of us candidates. I also want to thank everybody that took the time to submit questions, and all of those of you that are viewing on Facebook now or on YouTube later. We have a lot of great candidates. It's a full race, and we really appreciate as candidates you guys taking the time to get to know us. I'm going to tell a little story to tell you who I am. A few years ago, I did the Molokai Solo, which is the one-man race from Molokai to Oahu. I did my research, I came up with a training plan, I brought a team together for things that I didn't know about, like planning my course and nutrition and my boat crew. And then when it came to race day, it was the worst conditions ever. The currents were all going in the wrong direction. The wind was blowing in my face so hard that if I stopped paddling, I actually went backwards. At some point, there was a hammerhead shark about the size of my canoe circling me. But at the end of the day, I finished the race. It took me 6.5 hours. And so this is what I bring to County Council. I'm a scientist by training, so I do my homework, I do my research. I know that I don't know everything, and so when I need expertise from others, I go out there in the community and ask for help from people that do know. And then when it comes time to execute, even if the conditions are crazy, even if it's difficult, I'm going to go ahead and put my back into it and finish the job. And I appreciate all of the support that I have out there. If you'd like to know more, please visit my website, voteforkimball.com, and you're always welcome to call me, 808-333-1535. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kimball. I appreciate your self-introduction there. At this time, for our 12-minute Q&A portion, I'd like to welcome our board member, Nancy Carr-Smith, to the floor. Nancy, the time is yours now, and I will start the time when Ms. Kimball starts speaking. So Nancy, please go ahead.
Thank you. Welcome, Ms. Kimball. Thank you for joining us this evening. It's our goal tonight to give the audience an opportunity to get to know you better, to understand your goals and objectives so that they can make an informed decision when they vote in the primary election on or before Saturday, August 8th. We've allotted 12 minutes for the question and answer period. Take as much or little time as you'd like, knowing that at the end of the 12 minutes, we will conclude and get ready for the next candidate. I'd like to jump right into the question, starting with priorities. If elected, you'll carry the responsibility of supporting the diverse communities of District 1. Please share the top 2 concerns you have for the district and share what your solutions are, please.
Thank you, Nancy. So I think all of us have had our priorities change with COVID-19. For me, the first priority is how do we get our economy running again? But not just how we get back to the old normal, how do we do it in the right way? We always knew that our economy was vulnerable and that it wasn't working for a lot of people. 60% of our island community is either below the poverty line or they're asset limited income constrained, or asset families, ALICE families, which means they're living paycheck to paycheck. What we need to do, what my priority is to re-envision our economic system so that we're no longer this economy where dollars pass through the community. It comes on planes and cruise ships, passes through the community, and then we export it for goods and services. What we need to do is re-envision our economy so that those dollars circulate locally, and that means supporting local producers, local agricultures, and also looking at future economies. This is something I think is a key priority for us. We can't just plan for the economy that was. The economy is going to be very different in the future, and I think that opens up some great opportunities for us. My second priority is really based on meeting those immediate needs in our community. We have a tremendous issue with food shortage right now. Additionally, housing is becoming an issue. Energy costs are becoming an issue. And I want to look at all of meeting these immediate needs with an eye on long-term resilience. So it's not just a matter of meeting those basic needs now, yes, but thinking about how we can implement systems and structures that will allow us to meet those needs in the long term while still living within the constraints of our resources. And what that would mean is that in the long term, when there are other disruptions to our system, whether it's a hurricane, another lava flow, a tsunami, we're already prepared with the systems and structures in place to respond quickly so that there's no loss of life and that everybody is having their basic needs met.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to the budget. A big part of the council person's position is to serve as a check and balance to the mayor's budget proposal. The county budget's almost $600 million, involving more than 2,800 employees. What experience do you have in effectively reviewing and approving larger budgets?
So one of my roles, like I said, I've been a scientist for 20 years, and I served for 6 years at the Lawrence Berkeley National Lab in the Joint Genome Institute. And in that position, I held a leadership position where I had my own staff and I had my own budget, multi-million-dollar budget for my department. In addition to managing the budget for my own department, I also met with the larger production facility team, and we determined the budget for the overall team. One of the key things about this is that it was federal dollars, and municipal budgets and federal budgets are different than business budgets. So having that previous experience in a government type budget setting is important. I want to use this question to highlight two other things. One of the first things I hope to do when I get in office is to make sure we have a grant specialist on our team, because looking forward, I do think we're going to have opportunities for federally funded grants, for nonprofit grants to come into our system. We need to be prepared for it now to get the ball rolling. And a lot of that is just paperwork. And I want to make sure we have a specialist for that. The other thing I would like to highlight here is that we're a maturing county. We're a growing county, a maturing county. And I think we need to look at another style of government where the council actually hires a city administrator or a city manager. About half of the municipalities our size have this sort of model, where there's a person that has the skill sets of developing budgets, running departments, that is hired and is answerable to the council, rather than having all of the power invested in the executive branch.
Okay, thank you. How will you help Hawaii County become energy self-reliant and reduce our dependence on fossil fuel?
Yeah, so we have so many opportunities. In the last few years, I've switched my focus from genetics to climate change, particularly looking at how we get Hawaii to a carbon neutral landscape and ultimately to a drawdown landscape. And the energy picture is a big piece of that. Looking at geothermal and solar, we can do that now for less than 10 cents a kilowatt hour. And what we need to do as a county is we need to make sure, particularly with the solar projects we have coming on board, that those permits are expedited, not cutting corners, but expedited through the process. I do think that wind and tidal energies are also options, but we need to be careful with all of these technologies about where we locate them, making sure that they're in appropriate places with respect to where our communities are.
All right, thank you. As a council member, what will you do specifically to address homelessness, houselessness, and affordable housing?
So I'll answer the homeless question first, because I think these are two different questions. When it used to be 10 years ago or so, you knew in downtown Hilo, the homeless people by name. They were just 3 or 4 of them around. Now you go down there, and it used to be they were in the doorways at night, and now they're all on the beach during the day. And my philosophy has always been that housing first is the priority when it comes to homelessness. We need to get these people sheltered so that we can then provide the services to enable them to re-enter either the workforce or get the help they need so that they can find themselves in a house situation. We've seen that work very well in other municipalities. So I would support, further development of the tiny home areas that allow housing for the folks that are currently houseless. As far as affordable housing, we are, like I said, a growing community. There's a projection of 20,000 houses needed by 2025. And what we need to do is have development across all price points. The key thing here is to make sure that we put that development in the right place. Again, it has to be in areas that are already close to infrastructure, that are appropriately zoned, and we can look at things like increasing density, streamlining the permitting process, removing some of those barriers so that we can make these development options more affordable for our communities.
Thank you. If elected, what capital improvement projects would you pursue for the benefit of District 1?
So District 1, James went through all of those communities, and a lot of those communities already have public facilities, whether they were gymnasiums from back in the plantation days or just park structures. In addition to that, we have all of our roads and bridges. What I would like to do, going back to that resilience piece, is focus on converting some of our existing facilities or improving them so that they can become resilient hubs for our communities. And I've been in some discussions about this. There is money out there available, so it's not necessarily coming out of our current budget. The other thing that I think we need to focus on is we have a lot of those, a lot of the folks that are coming in are going to be seniors, and we do need to focus on developing senior housing so that we can allow our seniors to remain in place and basically live out the remainder of their years in the places that they grew up, the places that they're familiar with, in the community that they're used to being around.
Okay. In light of the ongoing protests and vigils happening here and across the country addressing disparity and inequality within our communities, how do we work with our police to create and maintain a culture that preserves the spirit of aloha?
That's a really great question, and certainly a really important question. One of the recent events that we had here in Hilo was a paddle out in remembrance of George Floyd, and one of my paddling friends, who's an officer on the force, was right out there with us, and you know, was moved by the moment as much as the rest of us. I think we have, you know, it's different here in Hawaii. We have a diverse community, we have a diverse police force. What we need to do is look at supporting the services that our police force is currently asked to provide that maybe they don't need to. So looking at substance abuse programs, looking at mental health programs, and putting greater investment into that area. I also want to work with the police force to make sure that they're getting the mental health support that they need as well. I mean, these folks are out there dealing with things, seeing things every day that we don't want to see, thankfully, and we want to make sure that they have our support in that as well.
Thank you. Can you quickly talk about recycling? It's almost come to a halt here on the island. What's your plan to support sustainable recycling and refuse program?
I think when we look at the whole solid waste picture, we have to remember that the order of things is reduce, reuse, recycle. And so we start at the reduce portion. And I think we have a lot of areas within the public sector where we can look at getting to zero waste. So that would be a key priority for me, as well as putting further restrictions on single-use items. As far as the repurposing, I think we can give more people more opportunities to share and repurpose items. There's a lot of skills that could be developed and community capacity that could be developed around repurposing, reusing items. Finally, I would say as far as recycling goes, more and more technology is becoming available to do smaller scale recycling. I think we can bring some of that into our local community instead of trying to export it out to people that no longer want to take our recyclables.
All right, thank you. The last question for you here. What qualities do you possess that makes you the best candidate to represent District 1 on the County Council?
So I think the quality that I would link to is my experience as a novice coach. As a coach, I would look at the crew members I have and I say, okay, what skills do they have? What fitness do they have? Who's going to be the best person to sit in seat 1 with the most rhythm? Who's got the best timing and can sit in seat 2? Who's got the spirit and energy and drive to be the steersman for that canoe? And then I go ahead and provide them with the tools, the paddle and the canoe, and the skills to go out there and do their race. And when they win, I'm super excited, but even more so, they've succeeded. And that's what's important to me. I'm a connector. I'm somebody that looks at what's available in my community. I don't want to do it for anybody, but I want to help lift everybody up so that they can achieve whatever it is that they want to see happen.
Thank you, Ms. Kimball. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All the best in your campaign, Heather. Have a good evening. Aloha to you.
Aloha, thank you.
All right. So thank you, Ms. Kimball. And we'll just bring our next guest in here. And she'll be joining us here in a moment. Just connecting to audio. So thank you for staying with us. And let's see, I'll just make you sure you're unmuted. Okay, our next guest, I'd like to welcome Miss Bethany Morrison to the call here. Thank you for joining us, Bethany. Appreciate you being here with us this evening. And your time for a 2-minute self-introduction begins when you're ready to start.
Okay, thank you so much, James, and thank you so much to the Waimea Community Association for hosting these candidate forums. It's a really great opportunity for folks in the public to understand the candidates and where they stand on the various issues. So I really appreciate you guys working so hard for this. A little bit about myself. I am connected to Hamakua very much. I moved over here when I was 10 to the district, attended Lapahoehoe elementary school, and some of those friends that I made then, I'm still friends with today, and we're now raising our children together. My husband and I were married in the district, and we're raising our children in the district. So just want to honor this great, powerful place that we come from and the connection that we have. I also want to mention that I have 4 generations of family members currently living in the district. So I am committed and dedicated to making sure that we live in a healthy environment. A little bit about my experience and passion for why I chose to run. I am a long-range planner for the County of Hawaii, and I have been a planner for the past 12 years. And during that time, I've worked on a lot of projects, including the Hamakua Community Development Plan, and more recently, the County Comprehensive Update to our General Plan. I'm the project manager for that project. And so I have been able to reach out into the communities island-wide to understand our issues and our challenges, and importantly, our assets that we have to rise up to those challenges. And during that work, I recognized, that I have a deep responsibility to lead and step up for leadership roles. And so this opportunity for Hawaii County Council is one of those roles where I can step up and help to implement those plans that I've been working on. I also want to mention my priorities for the district. Really important that we emphasize our agriculture and our food security and production. Important that we are repairing and maintaining our important community infrastructure. And finally, that we are protecting and preserving our unique and special environment.
Thank you, Bethany. Appreciate your self-introduction. And now I'd like to welcome back one of our board members, one of our WCA board members, Nancy Carr-Smith, to present you with questions over the next 12 minutes. Nancy, the floor is yours.
Aloha, Ms. Morrison.
Aloha, Nancy.
Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us this evening. Our goal is to give our audience an opportunity to get to know you better and to understand your goals and objectives so that they can make an informed decision when they go to vote in the primary election on or before Saturday, August 8th. We've allotted 12 minutes for the question and answer period. Take as much or little time as you'd like for each question, knowing that at the end of the 12 minutes, we'll conclude and move on to the next candidate.
Okay.
You already kind of told us your 2 top priorities, so I'd like to move to the economy. In light of the recent economic impacts of COVID-19, how would you move Hawaii Island toward a more diversified economy? Please provide a couple of examples of what you would do as a county councilor to rebuild our economy.
Thank you for that question, Nancy. And yes, we always need to look at how we can continue to diversify our economy. So this pandemic really just emphasized and prioritized that for us and brought it to the forefront. I already mentioned agriculture. That will always be my primary economic driver for the County Council District 1. We have the most agricultural land of the island. We have adequate soils, adequate rain to really be the breadbasket and grow food for our district, our island, and even our state. So I want to continue to work on that. We need to really be able to help our farmers and ranchers by providing infrastructure needed for that agriculture production, whether that be water or packaging, storage facilities in our communities so that they're not having to transport long distances, and then also helping with the marketing side of the business aspect. The other things that we have, when you look at what are the emerging economies for the state, we really have an opportunity for our science and technology sector to grow and thrive. we are uniquely positioned in the middle of the Pacific so that we can provide to both the Asian markets and also our North American markets. And we can look at, again, science and technology that includes astronomy, that includes our renewable resources, and any of those sectors that can operate remotely and don't have to be located within a metropolitan area. And then the third economic sector that I think is really important and we need to focus on is our health and wellness sector. We have an aging population and really need to be providing access to adequate medical care for that population. And so that is an opportunity to grow our economy in that sector. And we can also attract different types of tourism that are focused on the health and wellness that we can provide as an island state. And so, so those are the three things I would diversify on: agriculture, science and technology, and health and wellness.
Thank you. Regarding budget, a big part of a council person's position is to serve as a check and balance to the mayor's budget proposal. The county budget is almost 600 million and involving more than 2,800 employees. What experience do you have in effectively reviewing and approving larger budgets?
Thank you for that. On the personal side, I worked with the Lapahoehoe Community Public Charter School and was on their governing board for 6 years. During that time, I filled the position of treasurer, where I was able to review and help that budget for the school for many years. But on the professional side, I've actually been working at putting together the capital improvement budget for the county for the past 10 years. And that requires working with all the agencies to understand their priorities and things that they want to implement. What I've seen through that process is that we don't diversify our funding streams for those capital improvements. We rely heavily on county bonds, and there's a lot of other funding streams that are out there that we need to be going after. And then finally, just looking at efficiencies, not having to do with staff, but certainly the way that we function as a government. There's lots of opportunity for automating systems and making them more efficient for the public. That would also save us money.
Thank you. As a council member, what will you do to address homelessness and affordable housing?
So those are a little bit two different issues. On the homeless front, I think, we have a very good network of nonprofits that are working hard on that issue right now. And certainly the current administration has been working to build those transitional units in communities to help provide one way of housing the homeless population. So we need to continue to support those nonprofits with funding and anything else that we can do on that front. For affordable housing, this is a huge issue, and it affects us all very differently depending on what part of the island that you live at. And so a housing price in Puna is very different from a housing price in North Kona. And so I think to adequately start to get at that affordable housing, for one, we need to provide the infrastructure so that we can build adequate units in our town centers. That mostly means water and wastewater services. And for two, we need to look at removing the barriers that are put on some of those housing units, such as ohana dwellings. They have to go through quite an extensive process and notify neighbors and things like that. And we really need to look at how we can make those accessory dwelling units an outright permitted use in places that we have infrastructure. And then finally, we need to look at our affordable housing code and look at how it's different, again, depending on what part of the island you're on. Those credits and requirements should be different so that we're really targeting the needs of those particular communities.
Thank you. If elected, what capital improvement projects would you have in mind for District 1?
Oh, thank you. There's so many. Just really personal, on a personal level, I live in Lapahoehoe area, and Papaloa Gym is one of those places that I've been going since I was a small kid, and there's a lot of opportunity there. It's in severe disrepair. And so we need to look at all of our community centers and gyms and prioritize their repair and maintenance so that they're safe for our families and they can continue to provide those gathering opportunities. And then the second one is probably the Lapahoehoe boat ramp. It's again in severe disrepair, and it's our only access for our fishermen within the district. And so we need to make sure that that is addressed.
Very good answers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Public safety, in light of the ongoing protests and vigils happening here and across the country addressing disparity and inequality within our communities, how do we work with our police to create and maintain a culture that preserves the spirit of aloha?
Thank you for that. I think we are already demonstrating how we do that. We have seen a lot of peaceful protests happen throughout our island in regards to this racial inequality issue that's come to light. And so we need to continue to promote those opportunities. That's freedom of speech is very important so that we can address some of these social injustices that are happening. The police on Hawaii Island, you know, we have community policing officers that do an amazing job of working within our communities and being connected to our communities. So we need to continue with that program and support it. We also need to be sure that our police have adequate protective equipment and training in order to do their jobs. I understand that the body cams have been approved, and that's something that we're moving forward, but also just our police chief has been very proactive, I would say, in looking at, you know, immediately he said we need to look at not using the neck restraining protocols. And so we just need to support our police to be sure that they can do their job and keep us healthy and safe, and also make sure that folks feel comfortable and have the opportunities to make their voice heard about something that they feel passionately about.
Thank you. Invasive species has severely impacted and even eliminated native ecosystems across Hawaii. What solutions do you support to manage invasive species affecting our communities, and why?
Thank you, Nancy. This is something that is particularly interesting to me because I've seen the rapid ohia death really starts to impact our district. And also the fire ants, and they have impacted our agricultural as well. So the county right now does not have any responsibility about invasive species except for how we manage our own properties, parks and recreation, or public works. We've really left that to the state agencies to handle. And so that's an opportunity that we need to grow that partnership and grow that kuleana on a county level. We need to support the inspections and the inspector positions at our ports to be sure that things are being inspected before they come in, to make sure that there's nothing coming in. And then finally, we need to look at our land use policies. In our district especially, we have a lot of agricultural land that backs up to our native forests and our conservation land. And so what happens is if that agricultural land is not managed, it becomes a gateway then to invasive species impacting those native forests. And so we need to be sure that there's a buffer between agricultural lands and those native pristine forests to be sure that those invasive species can be managed.
Thank you. I think you probably have a good answer for this. Do you disagree or agree with vacation rentals being regulated? And what regulations do you think are appropriate?
Thank you for that. Yes, I have been in the heat of the STVR conversation and Bill 108 certainly being in the planning department. And I would say that, yes, we do need to be sure that we're regulating and keeping health and safety requirements always at the front. I can say the Bill 108 is certainly not perfect and needs to be addressed a little bit differently. Some of the issues that I've seen with it really have to do with definitions and being clear about processes. And so those definitions about hosted versus unhosted, that's led to a lot of confusion for folks who want to operate and are trying to understand where to operate. And so we need to look at that, and then really also look at our definition of bed and breakfast. And so looking at how we treat those small private accommodation businesses, they should all be treated under one process so that people understand what the process is and can follow it. And then we can designate with our land use, we can designate areas that can be these visitor areas that won't impact all the neighborhoods residentially, but they can be in a place, in a zone where we can adjust.
So I'm going to ask Nancy to ask you one last question, Bethany, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Thank you. What qualities do you possess that will make you the best candidate to represent District 1?
Thank you, Nancy. I'm humble, so this is always a hard question for me. But I would say, you know, I have a lot of experience working within county government, working with county legislators, working with state legislators, working at national and even international scales on how we manage our land use and our infrastructure. And so I bring that to the table. I also bring to the table that we're a strong union family, and we stand for working families. And so that means that I want to give those working families a voice and bring government to an understanding, a clear understanding to folks of how they can engage, what's important to them, and being sure that their voices are heard. And then finally, I would say that I'm not in this for any kind of accolades. I'm in this to be responsible and bring that education, experience, and connection to the County Council.
Thank you, Bethany, for your thoughtful answers. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Nancy.
Thank you, Bethany. Great to have you on the call. Good luck with your campaign. All the best. Aloha to you.
Thank you, James. Aloha.
Aloha.
At this point, we're going to be transitioning to a different part section here. So I'm going to unmute a couple people here. We're going to take a little break from hearing from some of the candidates, and I'm going to welcome Miss Pat Nakamoto onto the call. Let me just see here. So once again, I want to welcome Miss Pat Nakamoto for joining us and thank her for being here with us. She is once again the County of Hawaii's Election Program Administrator, and she's going to present us with some information about the 2020 voting process. Thank you, Pat, for joining us, and I'll put up slides when you're ready.
Sure. Hi, good evening. Thank you, James, and the Waimea Community Association for inviting the Elections Office to participate this evening. We believe every election to be an important election, but the 2020 elections are especially important because this will be the first year voters will be voting in an all-male election here in the state of Hawaii. It is important to note that no absentee walk-in polling places or election day polling places will be open on election day. We will have voter services centers, and I will go into more information on the voter services centers in the presentation. We are encouraging all voters to vote on their mail ballot. This year, one of the most important responsibilities that their mailing address is current. It is critically important that the elections office has the voter's current address because ballots will be mailed out non-portable. If the voter is no longer at the address we have on file, the post office will return those ballots to our office as being undeliverable. Therefore, if you want to vote in the 2020 elections, we are asking all voters to please provide the county elections office with their current mailing address. And it's very simple. All they need to do is contact our office, and the staff will be more than happy to guide them in updating their information. I would also like to stress the importance of voting in the primary election. And James did mention this earlier, but I also had it in my notes because I think it's very important for our voters to understand that in the primary election, any voter who receives 50% of the votes cast will be elected. Their names will not appear on the general election ballot. So before we begin our presentation, I would just like to mention that our office is available to answer any questions you may have. Voters, all they need to do is contact us at 961-8277, or they can email us at hiloelect, that's ELEC without the T, at hawaiicounty.gov. Thank you. Okay, the primary election will be held on August the 8th, and the general election will be held on November the 3rd. The deadline to register to vote for the primary election is on July the 9th, and the deadline to request for a seasonal absentee ballot is on August the 1st. The deadline to register to vote for the general election will be on October the 5th, and the deadline to request for a seasonal absentee ballot for the general election will be on October the 27th. All ballots will be mailed to your local mailing address. A seasonal request is for voters who want their ballots mailed to a different address. All registered voters were mailed a yellow signature capture card. This card includes a section for voters to provide their signature. This will allow the elections office to maintain an up-to-date signature file. These signatures will be used to confirm that the voter voted and sign the affirmation statement on the ballot return envelope. Signature capture cards. I would like to remind voters that it is important to sign and return the signature capture card. Voter signatures tend to change over time, and having your current signature on file may prevent voters from receiving a call from our office informing them that their signature did not match. And what this would involve is the voter having to make arrangements to come in and correct that error. The primary election ballots will be mailed on July 21st. And for the general election, they will be mailed on October 16th. These here is information, things that will be in your voter packet. Your mail ballot packet will include the ballot. It will also include a secrecy sleeve, a return envelope, and a reminder notice with a suggested date to return your voted ballot by. When you receive your primary election ballot, it will look like this. During the primary election, you will need to choose a party ballot or the nonpartisan ballot. Here in the state of Hawaii, we have a single party primary. So during the primary, so when you register to vote here in our state, you do not declare your party preference. So during the primary election, you're given a ballot card like this. You're going to select the party that you want to vote on, and you're going to locate that ballot on the ballot card. These party ballots contain candidates for federal and state office only. It is important for voters to check both sides of their ballot card. On the back side of the ballot, we will also have the State Office of Hawaiian Affairs candidates on their ballot, and also the county council, the county mayor, and the prosecuting attorney. So all county races will appear on the backside of the ballot also. A properly marked ballot counts 100% of the time. So when you receive your ballot, the first step is to review the instructions before you begin marking your ballot. We suggest reviewing all contests and be sure to check both sides of the ballot card. To mark your choice, use a black or blue ink pen and fill in the box to the left of your selection. When you have completed voting on your ballot and are ready to return it, you will fold your ballot, place it in the secrecy sleeve, then place the secrecy sleeve into the return envelope. Be sure to sign the affirmation statement on the return envelope. We will match your signature again with the signature we have on file. There are two ways to return your ballot. The first is by mail. Your ballot should be mailed at least 2 to 3 days before election day. And we would suggest even earlier than that. This is to ensure that we receive it by election day. The second way would be to drop your ballot off at a ballot drop site, which would include any of our election offices, a voter service center, or any official ballot drop box which will be located throughout the island. All ballots must be received by the elections office or at a drop site by 7 p.m. on election day. Voter services centers, they will be open 10 days before and on election day. The hours of operation will be Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. The voter services centers will receive voted ballots, provide voting machine services for persons with special needs. You can also register to vote if you miss the registration deadline and vote there at the voter services center also. And they will also provide other voting services which will be provided by law. There will be 2 locations, one in Hilo at the County of Hawaii Aupuni Center, and the other will be at the Kona West Hawaii Civic Center, Building G. The voter services centers will open on July 27th for the primary election and October 20th for the general election. This here is our ballot drop sites. These are places of deposits. Ballot drop boxes are receptacles to receive voted ballot envelopes. These receptacles will become available 5 business days before the elections. They will be available 24/7, beginning August 3rd for the primary election and October 27th for the general election. All drop boxes will close at 7 p.m. on election days. And here listed are the locations of all of our drop box sites.
Thank you, Pat. Wealth of information there for everyone in the community and a lot of important attributes that we need to know for the voting process in 2020. So thanks again for joining us, Pat. Are there any last words you'd like to say before? Yes.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for having us. It's always great for us to be able to provide, individuals in our community with voting information. I would just like to remind voters, who may have not sent in a signature capture card, if they still have their signature capture card at home, to please complete it and mail it into our office. And if they do not have their signature capture card or, they don't know what happened to it, just contact our office and we can mail them another card. And, I just want to, encourage voters again to vote on their mail ballot. And don't forget to sign the affirmation statement on the back. And thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Appreciate your help with this and getting the word out to vote and the correct information that people need to send their ballots in and back to you for counting. So thanks again for joining us. I really appreciate your effort and your support with all of this. It's a big undertaking with Vote by Mail as we transition here in 2020. So thank you for all your hard work. Now I'd like to welcome Mr. Brad Clark. And once again, Mr. Brad Clark is a member of the League of Women Voters. And he's here to talk to us a little bit about a very valuable instrument that voters can use to learn about the candidates on the ballot and other things that are happening on election years about times and voting locations, voter service centers that is, and then everything about the ballot. So Mr. Clark, the floor is yours for a few minutes here if you'd like to share with us some information from the League of Women Voters and especially about vote411.org. So thank you, Brad, for joining us.
Yeah, hi, thank you very much for having me. And thanks to the Waimea Community Association for putting on these forums. As you said, I'm Brad Clark. I'm on the board of directors of the League of Women Voters of Hawaii and of Hawaii County. And yes, there are men in the League of Women Voters, and there have been men in the League of Women Voters since the bylaws were changed in 1971. So there are plenty of men in the League of Women Voters. The League of Women Voters is a 100-year-old organization that was an outgrowth of the women's suffrage movement. It's a nonpartisan organization, and we encourage informed and active participation in government, understanding of major public policy issues and we try to influence public policy through education and advocacy. And again, the League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization. We do not endorse or oppose candidates for public office. Now, in preparation for the upcoming election, we have a tool available to the voters that they can go to online to get information about the candidates for running for office. It's called vote411.org. And if you go online to www.vote411.org, you will come up with what we call our one-stop shop for election information. It's a website. It provides simple, helpful tools to assist Hawaii voters to navigate the voting process. Vote411 provides candidate information, a voter registration tool, and other helpful election information. Probably the most popular service on vote411.org is the candidate information. Since the state of Hawaii does not produce a candidate pamphlet of any kind, this is a place where voters can go and get information about the candidates' positions on the issues. The League has contacted every voter, or not every voter, they've contacted all of the candidates running for office in Hawaii and asked them to participate in Vote411. And it's pretty easy to navigate. James just put up on the screen our home page, and you can see you can register to vote there or check your voter registration status. If you click on those, that will take you directly to the state of Hawaii's online voter registration page. If you need to register or check your registration. On the far right there, you'll see a box that says, find out what's on your ballot. Now, this is probably the most popular tool on Vote411. If you click on that, you'll go to another page and enter your address. And once you've entered your address, what will come up is a list of all of the offices that will be on your ballot. And you can highlight each one of those offices, and you'll get a list of candidates that will be running. And also, we've contacted the candidates and we've asked them to participate by submitting a photo and candidate statement to introduce themselves. Each candidate was asked to respond to a couple of questions to outline their priorities for office. And there's also, we asked them to include contact information. So you can get a hold of them if you want more information. Here's the page where you would enter your address to get that. Now, another nice thing when you, for instance, if you're looking at Mayor of Hawaii candidates, there are 15 candidates, and most of them have participated by sending in information. You can also compare candidates. So if you see two candidates you want, you can hit compare, and their information will come up side by side, and you can read their answers and decide which candidate most comes close to what you feel and the way you would want to vote. Another nice tool on this page There's what the page looks like. If you click on any one of those pages, what will come up is all of the candidates for that office. Another thing you can do is once you've made your selection, if you choose select this candidate, it will keep a list, and at the end of your going through your ballot, you can enter your email address, and Vote 411 will email back to you the list of the candidates you've chosen, so that you can, when your ballot arrives after Pat and her staff have sent you your ballot, once it gets there, you'll already have your list of candidates you want to vote for. I personally use Vote 411 in every election. I find it very helpful to get to know the candidates, and it's even more useful now since it's difficult for candidates to go out in public with the COVID-19 situation, to have everything all in one place. So again, the website is vote411.org, and you can get that information through the League of Women Voters. And just I'd like to put in a plug too, real quickly, another website that has tremendous election information, not about the candidates, but about the election process itself, is the State of Hawaii Office of Elections website, and that's at www.elections.hawaii.gov. And there you can actually print out, you put in your address, you can print out a sample ballot for yourself, and you can mark that and have it ready when your real ballot comes. So use vote411.org to find out about the candidates, and use elections.hawaii.gov to find out about the election process. And that about sums it up for me.
Well, thank you very much, Brad. A lot of important information there, and a valuable instrument, as we mentioned. And we can walk through some of the steps there to show you what it's all about and how to access. You can enter your address and find out who in your particular area are running for those selected seats. So valuable tool there. So thanks again to League of Women Voters and for promoting Vote 411. And thank you, Brad, for joining us this evening. Great to have you.
My pleasure. Aloha.
Aloha to you. At this point, we're going to transition back to our candidate forum. And I'd like to welcome Miss Jaclyn Moore here into the room. And I'd like to give her 2 minutes to present us with a 2-minute self-introduction. So welcome, Miss Moore. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you so much. My name is Jaclyn Moore. I was born and raised in Queens, New York. I am a first-generation immigrant. On my mother's side, my mother is from Colombia, South America, and my father is from Brooklyn. I come from a family of civil service workers, and the reason why this is important for you guys to know is because it's really set the foundation for my work ethic and what I value, and really the contributions that people make as the backbone of communities. I've been living on the Big Island here for 14 years. I started off in Honoka'a, lived up in Kapa'au, as well as Waimea, before finding my sweet spot in Hakalau. I am a practicing pharmacist. I have a doctor of pharmacy that I attained at the Albany College of Pharmacy in upstate New York. And I was thankful and happy to be able to practice community pharmacy in Waimea for about 11 years before transitioning to medical cannabis. I am currently the CEO of one of the largest medical cannabis dispensaries in the state, located right in the Hamakua coast in Pepekeo, where we currently employ upwards of 65 people, and we're one of the largest privately owned agricultural businesses on the coast. In addition to this, I am a mother of 2 amazing girls, and also married to an amazing man who really helps me by holding down the fort so I can pursue my passion. So I'm very thankful for that, and very happy to be here to be able to introduce myself to you guys, as well as enjoy the process. This is new for me. One of the things that I think is important for you guys to know about me is that I work in a vertically integrated industry in the state, and I think this is really unique. It really has allowed me to have a foundation of holistically looking at problems, issues, just how the organism works as a whole. And it's really important to know when you make decisions that you're not making decisions in a silo. In fact, there's a cascade of events and implications for every decision that's made. And when you're talking about the county level, which appears to be fragmented in many ways. One of the key things is being able to understand and make sure that things are congruent when we're making really key decisions. So thank you so much for inviting me here, James, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaclyn. I appreciate your self-introduction there. At this point, I'd like to welcome one of our board members and our WCA treasurer, Louis Dubois, to present you with a number of questions over the next 12 minutes. So Louis, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Aloha, Dr. Moore. Thank you for joining us this evening. Our goal is to give our audience an opportunity to get to know you better and understand what your goals and objectives are so that they can make an informed decision when they vote in the primary election on Saturday, August 8th. We've allotted 12 minutes for this question and answer period, so take as much or as little time to answer each question as you want. At the end of 12 minutes, we will conclude and move on to the next candidate. So to get started, if elected, you will carry the responsibility of supporting the diverse communities within your represented district. Please share the top 2 concerns you have for your district and your proposed solutions.
Excellent. So one of the things that I'm really dialed into and understand is the fact that so many young people who go away to college are not able to come back and actually find jobs to be with their families. This is where we really have to dial in to the level of ingenuity, innovation, the types of jobs that we're able to offer so that we have this infusion of knowledge and expertise from a younger generation coming back home, reuniting with their families. It seems to be something that it really runs through the community deep. It's something that I've heard in talking to so many people in the community that they have a concern about, and I completely wholeheartedly agree with that. The other thing is we really have to look at diversifying the economy is such a big trigger word. What do we mean by that? What I mean by that is looking at everything with new eyes again. Nothing is off the table. Looking at what we can do to create, situations where people can come back from where they are and come back to have a job, as well as attainable housing. So attainable housing is another key concern of mine, where I'm dialing in, and you have hardworking people that can't afford homes. I think that's extremely troubling. And what I would love to do is look into this concept of pocket neighborhoods, and the implications of what we would need to do on the zoning side to support attainable homes for people, hardworking people on the island that are the backbone of the community.
Great, thank you for your thorough answer. You mentioned in your answer about exploring previously unexplored options for a more diversified economy. Are there any specific examples that you'd like to provide us that you could do in your capacity as council member?
So this is interesting. I mean, it seems to be tourism and agriculture, at least here, right? And there's a lot of opportunities. I think when we're looking at something as, I'll just say cannabis. Look at cannabis. Look at what we have right now that we are not truly exploring. That's just one thing. We have hemp. We have the most amazing cacao. I mean, that is all agriculture, and I understand that. But it's also about technology and innovation. You have a lot of people during COVID that have been working from home. There's absolutely no reason why people can't come back home, work from home here, and with all of the knowledge and expertise they've learned, come back and actually help to infuse this knowledge into the community, where we can support this through innovation grants, accelerator funding for any kind of young entrepreneur that expresses any interest in doing this. The county absolutely can be there to support and promote entrepreneurs, and I will even say people that have any inclination to farming. When we start talking about food reliance, the average age of a farmer is, I believe, 60 years old. There's so much state land that is currently, you have invasive trees, strawberry guava, albizia, that are just taking hold of this land. I would actually say to the detriment of the land, and what we could be doing with subsidizing these state and county owned pieces of land for any young person that has any inclination and wants to go into farming. So there's a whole host. I mean, but that's my answer.
Okay, thank you. A big piece of the county council is to serve as a check and balance to the mayor's budget proposal. The county budget is almost 600 million and involves more than 2,800 employees. What experience, if any, do you have in reviewing and approving larger budgets?
Well, I have a lot of experience on this side, and I can boil it down really simply. In the COVID economy that we are all now functioning and soon to realize, because the impact has not quite hit us yet, we have to absolutely boil down the budget to what matters. There are so many efficiencies that we can find by looking at this holistically and not just these separate departments working in silos, where you could absolutely cut costs just by identifying key efficiencies, as well as boiling it down to what matters. We can't have it all because we cannot rely on this concept of continuing to live the way we're living on credit without any kind of semblance of the impact to our children. And what I mean by that is we have to live for now with a Band-Aid, and I get that, but there has to be some foresight and really difficult decisions that need to be made to make sure that we're functioning within an appropriate budget moving forward.
Great, thank you. How will you help Hawaii County become energy self-sufficient and reduce our dependence on fossil fuels?
Okay, it's a great question. So my understanding of the way the layers of energy, we are going to need a certain amount of fossil fuels to be able to build this layer of renewable energies. I think there's no time like the present. The prices of oil, barrels of oil they were rock bottom low these last 3 weeks to a month. I've never seen oil so inexpensive. This is the time where we have to make those decisions to push where we need to push so that we do have some level of self-sufficiency on the energy side in 3 to 5 years. We need fossil fuels right now to build out this renewable layer of energy so that we can move towards that. This is the time. It's never been less expensive to do so.
Okay. You touched some on the availability of homes for our community members. Can you elaborate on what you would do to address homelessness and affordable housing?
So that's a loaded question. So, homelessness, man, if there was a good answer in 2 minutes, that's just tremendous. But I will say that when we're talking about housing, we have to talk about mental health. I think it's something like 85% of people currently homeless have some mental health issues that clearly have to be addressed. I think what I'm more concerned with and trying to figure out now is the next wave of homelessness, which is almost imminent given the unemployment numbers and the information that's coming out now, with people who maybe have no mental illness at all, but it's really the result of what's happening to them and what's going to be impacting them in the course of the next 6 months to a year. I think if there's any time to lock yourself in a room with, at a round table to figure this out, this is one of those topics. I don't have an easy answer for this. It's very complex, but I can tell you I have every commitment when elected to not only push the discussion, but not be satisfied until we put in the effort and the work that it takes to come up with some kind of a plausible and feasible solution.
Okay, thank you. If elected, what capital improvement projects would you pursue for the benefit of District 1?
Okay, so that's a great question. So the first thing is, you know, I can appreciate, and my heart always goes out to seniors. So I'm going to start here. I think that people are incredibly fortunate if they don't have to go to an assisted living facility to be able to live at home. I live in a community and also some of the surrounding communities where I'm still hearing about roads that are literally crumbling. And these are older folks that I'm talking to. And so my primary concern is to make sure that there is emergency, you know, access to emergency services so that these folks can stay in their home and live in these, you know, the familial homes that they have. And so my first thing would be to make sure that these seemingly simple things like fixing some of these roads are taken care of. I know that they don't affect maybe large populations, but you know, these are our communities, these little quiet communities along the coast, and that's one of the first things. The second thing is, before we think about opening up any more green spaces or parks, I'd love to see the parks that we have open up. Very thankful that Kole just recently opened up, but I mean, certainly Hakalau, you know, we need to focus and have that, especially now because we need these spaces to go out and enjoy, given everything that's happening. You know, the favorite pastime of shopping and going to Target takes on a new face now, right? So it's about going out to these green spaces and having these parks open and available. So that would be, you know, that would be my answer.
Okay. What specific measures do you think the county should enact to minimize the spread of COVID-19?
Oh, that's a great question. Okay, so the new reality with the masks and going out. This is where I'm really focused on the rejuvenation of these plantation town centers, these existing town centers. I'm gonna draw out a couple of examples. I mean, I love that when I need milk, instead of going all the way to Hilo, and don't get me wrong, I go to Safeway, but you're literally exposing yourself to X amount of people to get these basics. I love going to Papa Aloha General Store. It just having these conveniences of having a general store, having these things right in these existing town centers where you're not going all the way to a hub, a commercial hub. I think that's going to be instrumental. I think it's even more important to have these existing town centers rejuvenated, because we're going to need that sense of community now, because everyone's so isolated. And so we need to bring back and reinforce that sense of community within all of these little pocket bedroom communities along the coast.
Okay, well, we're coming to a close in the allotted time, so I just have one last question for you.
Sure.
Yeah, before I ask it, I just want to thank you again for your time and your thoughtful answers. What qualities do you possess that make you the best candidate to represent District 1 on the County Council?
That's a great question. This is an opportunity for me, honestly. I feel very blessed. Let me tell you this. I've been able to sustain a life on the Big Island for 14 years, okay? And I've been able to do it, and I don't take any day for granted. This is a home that I never knew existed. And so I wake up every day and I'm thankful. This is my way of genuinely doing what I can for my community on a larger scale, in a way that I think makes sense, and in a way that I'm satisfied when my girls grow up here, because they were born at home in Hakalau here, that they have a good future and that we're thinking about them, and that somebody's in there asking very hard questions and challenging every assumption that's been made. Because I want to be very clear, we cannot continue with the same mindset that we've had. We have to challenge every premise we've ever had going into this new economy. And I feel compelled to do this, and that's the answer.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. I appreciate you joining us this evening.
I just have to say, this has been wonderful. This is my first. I was very nervous, and thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. All the best to you in your campaign. Good luck. Aloha, Dr. Moore.
Aloha.
Thank you. Aloha.
Bye.
Okay, so at this point, I'll welcome in my next guest here, and I'll get him adjusted in here in a moment as we transition here. and just adapting to the audio here for a moment. I'll make sure you're unmuted. There we go. All right, Mr. Medeiros-Garcia, welcome, Jaerick. Thank you for joining us.
Aloha. Thank you for having me.
Aloha, welcome. All good. Yes, so I'm going to give you 2 minutes for a self-introduction. So you begin when you're ready, sir.
First of all, first and foremost, I'd like to mahalo you folks, Waimea Community Association. Mahalo for allowing me to be a part of this forum. You know, my name is Jaerick Medeiros-Garcia. I live in Pepe'ekeo. I'm born on the island of Oahu. Moved here when I was 2 years old. I've been a resident of the Big Island for over 45 years. And I'm very involved in my community. You know, it's not about me. It's about we, the community that haven't been heard for all these years. You know, we've been dealing with a lot of issues within my community and along Hamakua Coast. Firsthand, I dealt with corruption, and in this day and age, those things gotta stop. I feel that I can bring a lot to the table. I've been doing a lot already for Hamakua Coast, for my community. I've been present. I make myself present to be at the county council hearings, to be at the planning commission hearings, to be at the GMAC hearings. You know, I would love to see the rest of the candidates there. But you know, some people just can't make it. But I do put my community on the top. I want to be a public servant to the community. You know, it's just, this is the time. Now is the time. I think I'm that guy for the job. You know, born and raised here. There's a lot of places that we can't go. I'm trying to make it happen for the community. I take care of Pepe'ekeo shorelines, Makahanaloa Shoreline Fishermen's Association. I'm the president of that. You know, I came up with my with our own game management plan so that it's self-sustained. Our shoreline is self-sustained. I helped my community push forward, created a program for the community back in 2018 for the youth and the adults of my community to be able to learn a trade, learn to farm. This is all within our community in Pepe'ekeo, and we brought that to light. The kids are learning how to do small engine repairs. You know, they learn how to farm. They learn how to be self-sustainable. This is something that nobody's talking about. But we can do it. We all can do it together. We all move forward together because, you know, when we can agree to disagree, that's when we come up with the best solutions. So, yeah, my name is Jaerick Medeiros-Garcia, District 1. Hello.
Mahalo, Jaerick. Sorry about that. So that was your 2 minutes there. At this point, I'd like to welcome one of our WCA board members and our treasurer, Louis Dubois, to ask you a couple of questions over the next 12 minutes. Louis, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Aloha, Mr. Medeiros-Garcia.
Aloha, Louis.
Thank you for joining us this evening. Our goal tonight is to give our audience an opportunity to get to know you better and understand what your goals and objectives are so that they can make an informed decision when they vote in the primary election on Saturday, August 8th. We've allotted 12 minutes for the question and answer period. So take as much time or as little time to answer each question as you would like. At the end of the 12 minutes, we'll conclude and move on to the next candidate.
All right.
So if you're ready, we'll get going.
Let's do this.
All right. If you're elected, you'll carry the responsibility of supporting the diverse communities within your represented district. So can you please share the top 2 concerns you have for your district and your proposed solutions?
My top 2 concerns would be agriculture, zoning, and land use. I mean, there's more than 2 issues that I can talk about, but yeah, agriculture, I think we need to become self-sustainable. I feel that right now we need to just stop all these special permit uses and implement a self-sustainable plan. You know, if we got to come up with some kind of plan to give credit to these landowners, if we find people to farm on their lands. But right now, where we at with the shipping, threatening to stop shipping to our islands and stuff like that, We don't need that. Our people, we're in a good place. Hamakua has the best farmlands throughout the state of Hawaii. No place else in the state of Hawaii have the opportunity like we do. We need to put forth a good plan to farm. Yeah, that's where we're at.
All right. In light of the recent economic impacts of COVID-19, how would you move Hawaii toward a more diversified economy? And if you could please give specific examples of what you would do in your capacity as a council member.
First of all, I would try and get our county to test everybody. You know, I mean, I would try to help to push to that so that it's not a guessing game. I mean, you know, not everybody's been tested. The numbers are not right. We all know that, you know. They just want to make it sound right. That's where we stand today. You know, the most important thing about this whole operation right here is to, you know, check and balance the budget, you know. But for me, I just feel that this COVID-19, we got at least 2.5 years more to look into this, man. This thing's not going to go away right away. This is something that everybody should be concerned about. But then again, we need to act now. We need to act now. We need to try and get this process where try to get almost everybody, in fact, to try and get tested. That's the only way we can attack them and try and cut that thing off quickly, you know, instead of guessing and let this thing spread out. Now is the time. Start now. Put a plan in place. Get everybody tested, not just the ones that feel sick, you know. But yeah, that's how I feel about it.
Okay, thank you. As you mentioned, a big piece of the county council of their job is to serve as a check and balance to the mayor's budget proposal. And the budget is almost $600 million and involves more than 2,800 employees. So what experience, if any, do you have in reviewing and approving larger budgets?
Well, first of all, our county is facing a $40 million shortfall for 2021. You know, that in itself, as a county council member, to be honest with you, nothing's going to be able to be done because we're already $40 million in the hole. You know, this is something that, we can thank the administration for, but the whole thing is we got to move forward now, and we got to really sit together and decide this, you know, like I cannot make that decision, but I'm willing to sit at the table with everybody to agree to disagree so that we can come up with better solutions. The thing is, if we don't do that, it's right. I feel that this part of government has really been lacking communication and transparency. You know, without that, we never can accomplish anything. I mean, look where we're at today. We're stuck with a $40 million shortfall. Our state, we owe what, $600,000. How much can we do when we're $640 million in the hole? We really can't do much, you know. I mean, look at the planning department, what they got. They asked for $850,000 for short-term rental enforcement. Did we get any of that yet? No, we didn't. I'm very aware of this, but yeah, moving forward, I think it's just, we need to hear the truth. If we don't have the truth, we cannot go on guessing. That's not right, you know. We cannot assume things. We need the truth. Transparency is key.
Okay, thank you for that answer. How will you help Hawaii County become energy self-sufficient and reduce our dependence on fossil fuels?
Well, I really would like to see clean and renewable energy. You know, I'm dealing with a huge problem right now in my community called Hohonua. Yeah, they're not clean and they're not renewable. The old timers might think, the ones that's sitting behind the table, they might think that, you know, they got this. But you know what? They're not listening to the people in my community. We need clean energy. We need solar or something, you know. Hydro, you know, stealing water from rivers is not what it's about, you know. The thing is, there is other issues, other solutions for clean energy. Waves, maybe, waves. We got a lot of waves. We're on an island. We're in the middle of a Pacific Ocean. We need to move away from what's illegal and focus on what we can use around us that's not going to damage our resources. Other than that, I am for clean energy. Puhuno is not a clean energy in my community. I'm concerned for the health. There's no EIS done. They don't want to do it. They don't want to make sure that the people is going to be safe. They don't want that. But you know what? We see where that goes. Other than that, yeah, I think renewable clean energy is good. We just got to focus on what it's going to be. And we need everybody to be a part of that.
Okay. As a council member, what will you do to address homelessness and affordable housing?
Well, first of all, affordable housing. We need to make programs where our people, our community can actually afford this affordable housing. A lot of times what's happening is these guys are claiming to build affordable housing so that they can get into the zonings to build these things that's going to be outside of affordable. First of all, we have a problem. We do have a problem with homelessness, and that is bad. Me on my shoreline, I've talked to a lot of homeless people. It's not they're homeless because they don't have jobs. Most of them have jobs, but it's just renting homes is hard to get. Yeah, with the short-term rentals and all that stuff on ag lands. That's something that our county should really look at. If the state says it shouldn't be on ag lands, there should be no grandfather clause for those people. If it's not on ag land, that's what I'm saying. Right now, in this moment in time, we shouldn't allow anything to be accepted with a special request permit on agricultural lands. Why? Because when it's time to get rid of them, it's going to be 10 times as hard to get rid of it. So, a lot of homelessness is due to because there's no homes to rent at an affordable price. But, we do have affordable places, but it's still not affordable. So, yeah, it doesn't make sense, We have to really point at the people, remove the people that's sitting in the seats that making the decisions. It's needed. This whole system needs to be holy. Need to be flipped. We got to change them. And I think right now is the time. Somebody like me who's been involved in all these meetings, being aware, listening to everything that's going on, watching what's happening around. I think I'm the guy. District 1, Jaerick, Medeiros-Garcia. That's it.
Okay, thank you for that thoughtful answer. I wanted to touch on what you were saying about revamping our systems in light of the ongoing protests and vigils happening here and across the country, addressing the disparity and inequality within our communities. How do we work with our police to create and maintain a culture that preserves the spirit of aloha?
It's a pretty good question. First of all, we got to fall back to the budget again. We are $40 million downfall. Moving forward with the police, it's not what the community can do. It's what the police and how they hold themselves. A lot of them hold themselves as they're above the law. They look at others, like people like myself or my ohana or yourself. They look down at us. So if there's going to be any fixing up, it has to start within the department. I've worked with there's a lot of great police officers out there. I created systems in our community that works with the police department. Some fine guys, and then there's some wine guys. So, it needs to start within the police department. That's where it's got to go. Yeah.
Okay. Can you elaborate on how we could improve accountability or transparency in these police departments?
Yeah, well, they need to make everything available to the public, you know. So these meetings that they hold, right? Hey, we pay how much overtime last year? How much overtime did we pay in taxes for our police department? You mean to tell me they cannot hold these meetings at 7 p.m. so that the people that is trying to survive and raise their families working, you know, that can't be there at 9:30 in the morning, you know, they cannot just donate a couple hours for an evening meeting so that everybody can be there, so that everybody can ask questions. It's not my questions I'm concerned about. It's my community's questions that's not being heard or not even being answered. You know, it's just, it's frustrating to know that they like to, look, now they're hiding behind the COVID-19. For instance, let me say this. For instance, okay, look at the cell towers. In March, we got them denied, right? They took advantage of this. They didn't let planning department, yeah? The planning department is Morrison, right? Anyway, the thing is, they had rubber stamped that. The fact is, they were supposed to go through the Third Circuit Court, but yet COVID-19 closed that down, you know, but they brought it to the table. Sorry, thank you.
Oh, yeah, thank you for,
I thought he turned me off, you know, so I stopped, like.
Oh, sorry. So I'm gonna stop you there, Mr. Medeiros-Garcia. And we have one more question for you, Lewis, if you don't mind asking the last question for Jaerick here.
Okay. Yeah, Jaerick, thank you for your time and for your thoughtful and impassioned responses to our questions. Our last question is, what qualities do you possess that make you the best candidate to represent District 1 on the County Council?
My qualities is, you know, I don't put me in front of anybody. I'll put myself behind everybody. It's my community first. I want to be a public servant, a real public servant that will communicate with my community. Let them know. One thing I would love to try to do is change the times of these meetings so that people in the community can be present. Because the past few years, being a part of these meetings really opened my eyes. It really tells me that our government, they don't care. They don't care that our community is not aware of all the things that they're doing within our county. You know, I want to be that guy. I want to be that watchdog. I want to be the person to let you guys know the truth, the facts, because no matter what anybody's saying on this panel, right, this is the God's honest truth. I would bring the facts and nothing but the truth to the community because, you know, that's how I was raised. I will not veer away from the truth. I will tell you guys the truth. My name is Jaerick Medeiros-Garcia, District 1, County Council. Mahalo for this opportunity. Waimea Community Association. Mahalo. Thank you very much.
Mahalo, Jaerick. Appreciate you joining us this evening. All the best in your campaign. Good luck, and thanks again.
Thank you, James.
Aloha.
Aloha.
So we'll transition to our next candidate here. Let's see. I'll welcome them in here. And we'll get adjusted here to the microphone here. All right. Next up, we have Miss Monique Perreira, and I'll have you just unmute yourself there, Miss Perreira, and we'll get you going here.
Hi, good evening.
Aloha, welcome. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to give yourself introduction. So please begin when you're ready, Monique. Appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Mowing her lawn, so sorry if it's noisy. Aloha, my name is Monique Cobb Adams Perreira. I was born on Oahu and raised on Oahu and Hawaii Island. I graduated from Hilo High School in 1987. I enlisted in the Navy when I was only 17 years old, and a month after graduation, I was shipped off to serve my country. I was stationed on board a ship for 4 years, the USS Yellowstone. I served in 2 overseas deployments in the support of Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm, and also during the first Gulf War. I'm a wife. I'm a mother of 3 daughters and a stepson. My first grandchild was just born in May, which gives me so much more reason to make my community a better place. I'm a small business owner. I've been a massage therapist for 23 years. And And, how does that qualify me to run for an office? Is I'm a great listener. I listen a lot and I can solve problems. My family raises a small head of cattle. I believe in strengthening our cattle and agriculture industry, and I want to be a support for that industry. That's it.
You have a couple seconds if you'd like to say anything else, Ms. Perreira.
Thank you for having this forum. I really appreciate it. I think this is something that should continue even after we can get together. I like the technology of being only dressed from the top up.
Thank you, Ms. Perreira. Thank you for your self-introduction there. At this point, I'd like to welcome one of our Waimea Community Association board members and Vice President, Michael Donnelly, to present you with a few questions over the next 12 minutes. Mike, the floor is yours. And I'll start the time when Ms. Perreira begins speaking after your first question. So go ahead, Mike.
Aloha, Ms. Perreira, and thank you for joining us this evening. Our goal is to give our audience an opportunity to get to know you better and to understand what your goals and objectives are so that they can make an informed and educated decision come the primary on 8 August. We have 12 minutes allotted for this question and answer period. Take as much time or as little time as you need for each question. At the end of the 12 minutes, we'll conclude and move on to the next candidate. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So let's start off with the economy. In light of the recent economic impacts of COVID-19, how would you move Hawaii towards a more diversified economy? And please provide some examples of how you would impact that or make a difference as a county councilor to rebuild our economy.
Well, obviously, diversify is the new word of the day. We did put all our eggs in the tourism basket, and now that tourism is shut down, we're scrambling for ideas on how can we keep ourselves running. I think we really need to diversify as far as agriculture, support our agriculture industry, help our farmers to be profitable, incentivize them to continue doing what they do. No farmer is doing it for the profit, but it would be nice for them to benefit from what they love doing. The cattle industry has, we need more processing, more ways to process our meats and keep our meats right here on our island. Grass-fed meat is all the rage nowadays, with people being on, these keto diets or learning about these GMOs. People want healthy grass-fed meat, and we can provide that right here for not just our community, our state, but let's make our meat from our island like the Kona coffee of meat. Let's really promote that and be a competitor in that industry. I don't understand why we ship our meat to the mainland to be brought back in another form so we can purchase it and support, another state. I think, this COVID showed, we have a 14-year-old boy who created this program to bring our fresh produce and proteins to the community, because the farmers couldn't offload their surplus to the hotels. So he created this idea, and I love it. And why weren't we doing that for the beginning? And we need more of that. We need our produce to stay right here in our communities for our island, and continue that.
Thank you so much. So that's a great segue to the next question is, as a counselor for the county, you have a responsibility for supporting those diverse communities within the district. So it sounds like ag is a top priority for you. Can you give us another example or two of your other priorities if elected?
Well, with the ag industry, another thing we need to look at is, looking into the hemp industry. Hemp can check off so many of the boxes that we need here in Hawaii. 1 acre of hemp is equivalent to 20 acres of trees. We can make our own toilet paper. We could use, we can make industrial hemp for Hemp Creek and build using building materials for us right here instead of shipping everything over. I think hemp cleans our air, it cleans the soil. We get a carbon tax credit for growing hemp. I think, as far as a biofuel, hemp is a resource. I mean, it checks off a lot of the boxes, and, we need to open up that industry here on the Hamakua coast. If somebody has, say somebody lives on 35 acres, they want 20 acres to go to hemp. I mean, it's reasonable and profitable and good for our environment and our economy. We need to look at something like that can, that's not so fragile if, shipment stops, or, we need to look at something that can sustain us.
That's a great answer. So transitioning to self-reliance and sustainability, how will you help Hawaii County become more energy self-sufficient and less reliant on fossil fuels?
Well, of course, there's a lot of proven alternative energies, clean, proven alternative energies. We need to work with resources that are friendly to our environment, not harmful. It's such a, to have a renewable energy that's proven, like solar, like hydro. We can do this. I mean, we have a plan, our state had put forward a plan to be, less dependent on fossil fuels by 2045 or something like that. Yet we just built a courthouse in Kona that completed last year that has absolutely no solar, no photovoltaic. I mean, they might be doing it now, which costs the county more money, right? Because it's a change order, it's after the fact. But, we need to look at, when we're building these projects, why aren't they being, equipped with solar, photovoltaic? I mean, we have the great resource of the sun, and that's proven, and we need to use that more.
Great, thank you. So a big piece of being a council person and being in that position is to serve as the check and balance to the mayor's budget proposal. What experience or knowledge do you have effectively reviewing, managing a larger budget in excess of 600 million and then nearly 3,000 employees? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, here's the thing. I'm a small business owner, and I run my household. I work with a way, way smaller budget than what the county has. And I think instead of looking for experience in somebody who works with big budgets, we need to look for people with experience working with small budgets, because we stay within our means. We know how to stretch our dollars. We know how to find the waste. I mean, just recently with all of this going on, it's like, let's find out what we can cut. Let's cut off our cable. Let's cut off our, let's be smart with our money. And I think that is way more important, to find somebody who can make more with less than finding somebody with experience working with $600 million.
So with that, as a council member transitioning to homelessness and houselessness, what will you do to support solutions for those two?
Our homeless issue is just so many facets. We have the working homeless, which is just unfathomable to think that there's people who work hard and they still can't afford a home. We need to get them in homes. We have, the houselessness who just maybe fell on hard times and, or there's no availability of affordable rentals. And then we have the chronic homeless who choose to live that way. I think, first of all, and we also have an influx of homelessness coming to Hawaii. Every day I drive down the road and I see new faces, and they're not from here. That they've been sent here, and I think we need to, investigate that and send, if they're coming here from another state being sent here. I know the state looks the other way and thinks that no state is sending their homeless here, but I beg to differ. We need to send them back. We need to enforce the laws and get these homeless people who are breaking laws. Hilo, sometimes I drive to Hilo and it's like, what's happening to our communities? These homeless people are overrunning it. We need to step up our law enforcement, make sure, you know, the mentally ill have their resources, make sure that the drug users, you know, go to rehab, and if they cannot, you know, we need to do something about that. As far as, you know, more homes on this island, I mean, we're definitely land rich, so we should look into more self-help projects, expedite the permitting process so that we can have homes be put up. Even the Ohanas, you know, sometimes that's what it needs. We need to put more homes on a lot to afford for the families. But also, you know, we need to get with Department of Hawaiian Homelands and have them put people in these vacant homes, in these foreclosed homes. We need to push them to do what they're supposed to do, which is put Hawaiians in homes. We need to do that. I have enough of just people not doing their jobs. You know, we need to put our people in homes.
Thank you. So with Hawaii Island recycling program coming almost to a standstill, what would be your plan and ideas in supporting a robust and sustainable recycling and refuse program that meets the community needs, the paper, plastics, metal, green waste, and the like?
You know, when I was in the Navy, you know, our trash became an issue. When I first joined, we would literally throw our trash over the ship after we were 50 miles out. And when I first saw that, I thought that was the most craziest thing I ever saw, to see bags of trash following our ship. Then we implemented programs to separate our plastic from our papers. And, you know, it's not a hard thing to do. We need to educate our community. We need to get rid of single-use plastics. You know, I mean, I can't even believe that our county is even entertaining water bottling plants. Like, who buys water bottles? We shouldn't even do that anymore. Anyway, you know, we need to get those facilities back up and running and you know, keep it going.
Thank you. On the capital improvement side of the house, what capital improvement projects would you recommend and pursue for the benefit of District 1? Please share your ideas.
You know, our district has many needs. We're so rural. We have so many needs as far as gyms, park facilities. You know, that would be really great for our communities to have all of these things. It's kind of hard, though, to think of a capital improvement project when our economy is tanking, people are out of jobs, small businesses are closing. I think, you know, if I could wave my magic wand, I would definitely improve our parks, our gym structures, you know, so our kids have more opportunities to participate in sports. But again, you know, how do we look at capital improvement when, you know, when we're facing this economic crisis?
How would you advise the county, or how, as a counselor, what input would you do to stop or to limit the spread of COVID-19?
You know, COVID-19, one thing that is not ever discussed by the scientists and the professionals is boosting our immune system. I mean, I think the hygienic changes we've made to wipe down our grocery carts, to wipe down our keypads, you know, the washing of the hands, I think that's all great, but we also need to learn how to take personal responsibility, boost our immune system, get some vitamin D from the sun, get some exercise, eat better. I mean, that's really the only way we're gonna stop COVID, the flu, and all these other things. We can mitigate it by just living a more healthier life.
We're gonna stop you there for one moment, and then if Mike could ask you one last question as we wrap up here, Ms. Perreira. Thank you for joining us. So Mike, the last question, please.
Monique, what qualities do you possess that makes you a unique candidate for this branch of our county government?
I think we lost you there just for a moment, Monique. So I just ask you to unmute. There you go.
Okay, what was the question? What qualities I possess?
What qualities do you possess that makes you a unique candidate for this position?
Well, I'm really passionate about anything I set my mind to. I'm strong-willed. I love my community. I am the girl next door. I am the average Joe. Anybody can talk to me. And I really enjoy listening to people's concerns. And, you know, it's not about what I think. It's about what they think. When they tell me a concern, I like to figure out what it is they're saying and what it is that will fix that situation. I think all too often our politicians are running off doing what they feel is needed and not stopping to ask the questions of the community. And you know, when we sit around and talk with just people in the community, there's answers right there within our community that make sense, common sense answers. And we need to get back to that instead of trying to, you know, reinvent the wheel. The answers are right there within our community, and we need to search those answers, you know, find those answers and solve these problems as a community.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Perreira. Thank you for joining us this evening. All the best to you in your campaign. Have a good evening. Aloha, Monique.
Aloha.
Appreciate your time. All right, and so at this point, we're going to transition to our last candidate that's joined us this evening. I welcome into the room right now. And just connecting to audio here. So give us one moment. All right, and then I'm just going to ask you to unmute yourself, Mr. Yagong. If you could unmute yourself, sir. There you go. All right, so our last candidate this evening is Mr. Dominic Yagong. And Mr. Yagong, I'm going to give you 2 minutes for your self-introduction, so please begin when you're ready.
Thank you, James. My name is Dominic Yagong, also known as the voice of the Honoka'a Dragons. Aloha. I was born and raised in Honoka'a, and I traveled the world. When it was time to raise a family, I chose to come back home. Here we raised 4 beautiful children, and we have 2 adorable grandchildren. You know, I was 36 years old when the people of rural South Hilo, North Hilo, Hamakua, and portions of Waimea elected me as council member. Mahalo to the people of Council District 1 for trusting and believing in me, as I was elected 6 times and served for 12 years. While on the council, my peers elected me as chairman of the Hawaii County Council, as well as chairman of the Finance Committee. I also chaired the Environmental Management and Public Works and Parks Committee. I understand legislation and the inner working of government. Now, this coupled with my 40 years of business experience managing hundreds of employees while doing multi-million dollars in sales. Today, I work as a property manager working side by side with communities, board of directors, and owners of homeowner associations whose yearly budgets and property valuation is in the millions of dollars. You know, the next few years will be the most difficult period that our county and state has ever faced. My experience in government and in the private sector brings a strong, balanced voice to serve as one of the 9 council members to help navigate through some of the rough seas ahead. Now, with that said, I do believe that my greatest asset is my love and aloha for the people of Hawaii. You know, leaders must have compassion, conviction, and ability, and treat people with aloha and respect. So many politicians make promises during the campaigns, but you know, the only promise that I will give you is the promise that I will work hard, make you proud, and represent the great people of Council District 1. I just like to say, I know there's a lot of people struggling out there. I hear you, I see you, I feel you, and I'll do everything I can to get this economy rolling. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yagong. I appreciate your self-introduction there. And at this point, I'd like to welcome back our Vice President and Board Member, Michael Donnelly, to ask you a couple questions over the next 12 minutes. So Mike, when you're ready, the floor is yours. I'll make sure I'm muted here. Mike, if you could unmute yourself, actually, please. There we go. All right. Go ahead, Mike. The floor is yours.
Aloha, Mr. Yagong, and thank you for joining us this evening. Our goal is to give the audience an opportunity to get to know you better, to understand what your goals and objectives are, so that they can make an informed and educated decision when they vote in the primary decision on 8th of August. We have allotted 12 minutes to this question and answer period. Take as much time as you'd like or as little. And at the end of it, we will transition to the close of this forum. So here we go. First, if elected, you will carry the responsibility of supporting diverse communities within District 1. Please share with us your 2 top priorities, concerns for your district and the solutions.
Okay, I think if we have one thing that we have learned from COVID-19 is we need to be food secure. And one of the things that would be a priority for me is really something that I worked on while I was on the county council. You know, Hamakua has a responsibility. The responsibility is we have probably some of the best agricultural lands in the state of Hawaii. We need to put those lands into productive use. You know, what we tried to do in previous terms is to get people in the land, but, you know, unfortunately politics got in the way. But what we need to do is we need to get out of the way. You know, when you take a look at fallow land and you take a look at productive land, it's so important that we get our lands back productive. So that's one of the things that I will be working on as a priority, which is getting agriculture as one of our top priorities for the district and for our island. The second priority, of course, is getting people back to work. You know, when the sugar plantation closed down, many of our residents transitioned into the hotel industry. So we are drastically affected with all the hotels being closed. We need to be able to get our employees back to work, but more importantly, back to work safely. And we need to do whatever we can to provide that support to businesses that gives them confidence not only to open, but to make sure that their customers and their employees are safe.
Thank you so much. That's a great segue to the next question. In light of the recent economic impact with COVID-19, how would you move Hawaii County and Hawaii Island towards a more diversified economy? And please provide some examples if you could.
Okay, you know, first of all, I just want to say that, you know, right now the buzzword for elections throughout the state of Hawaii is diversifying our economy. And you know what? That is absolutely true. We need to do that. We need to make sure that we're not dependent on one industry. But I just want to say one thing. It's very important that we focus and understand that people are having problems now. People are not able to pay their bills now. People are having trouble getting money to pay for meals now. You know, building a diversified economy will take time, and that's why we need to start now. But you know what? It takes time to build the infrastructure. It takes time to bring in the investor. It takes time to do the permitting. But the problem is we got people suffering right now. And one of the things that really concerns me as we talk about diversifying our economy, you know, there was a recent article that was written that says, you know, thousands and thousands of local people are going to be leaving Hawaii. Why? Because they cannot make a go here, because we do not have the economic engine. And I'm going to tell you right now, when you talk about, you know, a place that have beautiful mountains, beautiful beaches, beautiful scenery, well, there's places like that all over the world. Our most important resource is the people of Hawaii. Is that aloha spirit that we have. If we lose our most important resource, our people, because we're not able to get this economy going, we will lose that edge that we have over other destinations throughout the world. So I just want to say, yes, we need to diversify. But with that said, let's not forget we got people suffering right now. We need to help our people now. And you talk about the economy. You know, I cannot understand for the life of me having complaints or hearing from people in our community that are saying we haven't received our unemployment check, or we haven't been able to get in, you know, to apply for an unemployment check. When you really think about it, that should be a major priority in terms of not diversifying our economy, but helping our economy. We need to do what we can to make sure that we get our people with their unemployment checks.
Thank you so much. As a county council member, what will you do to support solutions for homelessness and houselessness and affordable housing, particularly in this COVID-19 environment?
Good question. You know, I think when you talk about homelessness, I think one of the things that we do need to do is we need to understand that homelessness is everybody's problem. You know, it's not just something we can shine away from. It affects everybody. And someone told me a long time ago that a society is judged based on how they take care of their poorest people. And we need to do that. And we need to make sure that we take away that perception, that NIMBY perception, you know, hey, we support, you know, being able to provide shelters, but, you know, not in my backyard. We need to change that perception if we're ever going to address this issue. In terms of affordable housing, you know, I think everyone's going to agree we need affordable housing in the price range that our people can afford to get into home. But I do want to talk to another thing, and that is we have a gap of people that are not even able to afford affordable housing. We got a gap of people that are in the rental market. You know, they are competing with the short-term vacation rentals. You know, inventory is down. So what happens? Price go up because of demand. And then you find these people making decisions on whether they're going to pay for their rent or pay for their food. And you know what happens? They end up on the street. we need to build transitional housing. I think that's one of the most, a very important thing. And we also need to have affordable rentals.
Thank you.
To catch that gap of people.
So a big, as you know very well with your experience, a big piece of a council person's position is to serve as the check and balance to the mayor's budget proposal. So what are your thoughts on managing and providing that check and balance and reviewing a $600 million budget with 2,800 plus employees for the county?
Well, let me just first say that the $600 million budget doesn't scare me in terms of being intimidated by it. Being on the county council and chairing different committees, getting to know what their needs are and understanding what their budgetary needs are is something that's going to be very helpful. But most importantly, being the chairman of the county council, having to do the budget for the legislative branch, and also being the chairman of the finance committee really give me a front row seat working with administration to deal with issues. Let me just say that in terms of check and balance, it is absolutely the responsibility of each council member to do their due diligence, to do the research. And I gotta tell you, all you need to do is ask a member of my staff. We had days during the budgetary time when we are there till 4 o'clock in the morning. And I'm sure some of my previous staff are watching it and saying, yeah, no, Dom, it was 5. But it's a responsibility that I take very seriously. And I certainly look forward to providing my guidance when it comes to the budget.
Thank you so much. I'd like to switch to energy and self-sufficient sustainability, if you will. How will you help Hawaii County become energy self-sufficient, self-reliant, and reduce our dependency on fossil fuels?
I got to tell you, when the governor announced that we in Hawaii are going to be 100% renewable by 2045, a lot of people laughed. A lot of people said, you're crazy. That's not ever going to happen, that we're going to lead the nation. But when you take a look at where we are today, we are the envy of many people throughout the nation because of what we have done. And you know what that means is, because of government, taking bold steps and making bold legislation and really setting the direction and setting the bar high, it has put us in a place that really forces us to move in that direction. And that's what we need to do to continue to get away from from fossil fuels. We need to have strong legislation that makes sense, that and well, let me just give you an example if I could. I'm in the property management business. We have buildings that are built and developers build, and it's taken over by owners that buy into the home and then become an association. And you know what you find down the road is that all of a sudden they look at their electrical bill and say, oh my God, this is crazy. So what do? They end up saying we need to put PV panels on our building. And they go through the whole process. The way I look at it, when you do things, you should do it right the first time. I think that it's time for us to consider making it a mandate that when developers build, especially in places like West Hawaii where sunshine is throughout the year, that we mandate that we install photovoltaic at the very beginning to add value to the property. But more importantly, again, taking that step forward to take us away from fossil fuels.
Thank you. If elected, what capital improvement projects would you recommend and pursue for District 1?
Okay, let me just say that we're in a tight budgetary situation here. Our revenue streams is disappearing. Our income stream is disappearing. And when it comes to capital improvement projects, a lot of times we say CIP is basically a wish list. It's for us to put projects on the books. But you know what? We need to divert from that. What we need to understand is we need to live within our means. The problem is we have facilities right here in Hamakua where buildings have not been repaired for a year. It's falling apart. It's actually unsafe. So instead of trying to add on to the budget to look good on your resume of things that you're going to be bringing to the district, what we need to do is say, look, if we have things that need to be repaired now, let's focus on that. Let's not focus on all these fancy stuff. Let's focus on the things that will make it safe for our residents today. Besides, we don't have the funds to do it. But the limited funds that we do have, we need to fix facilities that are in bad disrepair. We need to control. We need to live within our means.
So speaking of efficiencies, what would be your plan in supporting a robust and sustainable recycling and refuse program that meets the needs of our community?
You know, I think with China as they stopped buying recyclables, you know, it really created a bottleneck throughout the world. And what I think it taught a lot of countries and places like Hawaii is that, you know, if we are going to recycle and be serious about it, we need to be sustainable. Now, you know, part of the thing is when you do recyclables, you need scale. And one of the things that I will propose is the HSAC, which is the Hawaii State Association of Counties, where all the different council members from the different islands gets together and formulate a legislative request to the legislature. And I think one of those things that we need to put forward is really investing and putting the time and technology into developing a recycling center here in Hawaii. It may be, you know, placed, I'm not sure where it will be placed on what island, but I do know that if we put our thoughts together and our resources together, we would have the scale to be able to support a recycling center that allows to process our recycle to create other products.
Thank you. So what should the transition into is COVID-19? Is there anything that the county should do to minimize the spread of COVID-19 that's not already being done?
You know, I think we've taken measures that we're following the CDC and making sure that we do the social distancing and the mask and so forth. You know, I think that we just need to have constant reminder, constantly letting people know that COVID-19 is not over. You know, people say, hey, you know, there's going to be a second wave. We're still in the first wave yet. I truly believe that. So we need to continue to be vigilant, and we need to continue to understand that we all play a role in making sure that it's safe for our kapunas, safe for our residents, of course, safe for our keikis. And part of that is continuing education.
Okay, last question, Dominic, and you kind of hit at this in the opening. What qualities do you possess that makes you a unique candidate for this legislative position for the county?
Okay, well, you know, first of all, you know, I'm 60 years old, and I'm very happy with the life that I've lived. And what I wanted to make sure that what I do for the rest of the life is something that I truly enjoy, and that is public service. You know, it's something that I truly feel that it has not only, you know, enlightened my life, but it also has helped to enlighten other people's life and, you know, and help other people. You know, the quality that I have is, you know, I care. I care about people. For example, people tell me, Dominic, you are so busy. I can't believe that you were the chairman for the Honoka'a High School 130-year celebration where thousands of people came into Honoka'a. And I say, yes, you know, I am busy, but you know what? It's important. I care about our school. I care about the tradition. And I wanted to work hard. And we did for over a year. A lot of people did. And we do that because we care for our community. And if there's any one quality that I have that I'm proud of, and that is I do care and I do love my community.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Yagong. Thank you for joining us this evening. Aloha to you and all the best in your campaign. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us online this evening. We've heard from a bunch of different candidates for Council District 1, and I'm just gonna make a couple announcements before we close tonight's meeting here. So let me just pull up a couple slides here. All right. All right. So this evening we're able to hear from 6 of the 7 candidates that are running for Council District 1. And they were, and not in this particular order, but in alphabetical order, they were Heather Kimball, Jaerick Medeiros-Garcia, Jaclyn Moore, Bethany Morrison, Monique Perreira, and Dominic Yagong. So these were the fine individuals that joined us tonight here. And I know last night we mentioned, if you were able to join us last night, I made an announcement about an upcoming virtual forum seeking your vote for Office of Hawaiian Affairs. But unfortunately, we just learned that OHA itself, Office of Hawaiian Affairs, is planning to hold a virtual forum themselves that same very night for those candidates. And I think they're holding it throughout that week, and we're waiting to hear a little bit more about that. But that being said, we do not intend on holding a forum that same night, and especially do not want to compete with for airtime that evening. But we will keep you informed if our plans change at all, and we decide to hold any other future candidate forums. Lastly, the food basket, we made this announcement before, but I'd like to say it again this evening for any of the newer viewers, excuse me. Food basket will be at Waimea District Park next week, Friday, July 3rd, offering assistance to families during this difficult time. And once again, this effort begins at 10 a.m. at the Waimea District Park. As always, please stay in your car during these events. Wanted to again thank the food basket itself, its staff, its volunteers, any of its community partners, including Bridges, Farm to Families, and the astronomy friends there connected to the Farm to Families program, the Hawaii County, the Police Department, National Guard, Suisan, and USDA, helping to ensure no one goes hungry, especially during this difficult time. And lastly, I just want to thank the candidates that were able to take part tonight, especially in our Council District 1 virtual forum. I wish you luck in your campaigns. Also want to thank our board members, Nancy Carr-Smith, Louis Dubois, and Michael Donnelly for presenting the community-generated questions this evening. And thank you to the rest of the WCA board for your support in holding these virtual forums, these virtual candidate forums, in an overall effort to inform voters as they consider their selection for the Hawaii primary election before and on August 8th. I'd also like to thank our special guest speakers this evening. We heard from Ms. Pat Nakamoto with the Hawaii County Elections Division Office, as well as Mr. Brad Clark with the League of Women Voters. And I want to thank them for their support and their dedication to getting out the vote and sharing important information as it relates to the 2020 voting process. So thank you for your efforts and your hard work. And last, I want to thank all the viewers that joined us on our live stream this evening. You're welcome to revisit and rewatch this recording on the Waimea Community Association Facebook page. And we will be editing this file and putting it up on our YouTube channel at the end of the week. So you'll be available to watch it there as well. And we will put a link on our waimeatown.org, our website, our WCA website. And hope this all helps you being on the live stream or watching the recorded versions, guide your decision and make you better informed voters. So thanks again. And on behalf of the Waimea Community Association Board, I want to wish you good health, be well, aloha. Have a good evening.